Is university still worth it in 2025 is a question that's asked a lot. And it's a question that gets asked year after year after year. And as someone who's done a bachelor's degree in biology and a master's degree in biomedical engineering, I definitely can shed some light on this. Because don't get it twisted, it is nowhere near as straight enough answer as just yes or no. It comes down to your goals, the type of person that you are, and the university course that you're planning to do. But if you watch this video in its entirety, then you will understand some of the benefits and the drawbacks of going to university using empirical data so that you can make the best decision for you. The best starting point when we're talking about university and whether it's worth it or whether it's worth it for you is talking about the costs, because even if university tuition fees are free for wherever it is that you're studying, it's still going to cost you some money. I went to university in the UK and I can honestly say that it was extremely expensive, and unless you've got your parents to kind of help you or you're working while you're studying, it's going to be a bit of a struggle, to be honest. Tuition fees alone in the UK are quite high. For full-time students studying in the UK, the vast majority are going to be paying £9,535 per year for tuition fees. That's an increase of £285 from last year. For part-time students, tuition fees are £7,145 per year, which is a £210 increase. And for accelerated degrees, it's £11,440 per year in tuition fees, which is a £340 increase from the previous year. Now, with all that being said, your tuition fees are going to depend on where you call home and where you're going to be studying. And there are only two places in the UK that's going to give you any kind of discount so that you're not stuck paying the highest amount for tuition fees. And that is if your home is in Scotland and you choose to study in Scotland, you have no fees. And if your home is in Northern Ireland and you live in Northern Ireland, then you'll pay up to £4,855, which is pretty much half price. But for the vast majority of people, especially if you live in England and Wales, you are going to be paying most likely the maximum amount for tuition fees every year. And it's not cheap, it really isn't. And all of that for most people, unless you have rich parents who can afford to pay it all in one go, is you're gonna have to take out a loan for it. But despite all that, international students are the one who are footing the biggest bills. And actually, a lot of universities prop their finances up on the fact that they do get international students coming because they pay a hell of a lot more than home students. International undergraduate tuition fees can vary from £11,400 to £38,000 per year. And if as an international student you plan on furthering your studies, you can end up paying anywhere from between £9,000 to £30,000 per year. If I was an international student, there's no way I'm coming to study in the UK unless I'm studying at one of the best universities and it's a course that is going to make me a millionaire, because those tuition fees are absolutely insane. Let's be real. And based on just tuition fees alone, the UK is one of the most expensive countries in the world for university. Now, while for most home students in the UK, you can get a loan for your tuition fees, so that's not really a big issue. Most people never even see the money. It's just paid directly from Student Finance England. However, there are other costs that you are going to incur. One thing you need to understand about the UK is rent is very expensive. And in recent times, it is becoming more and more expensive to find somewhere that's even half decent to live without it costing you both your arms and both your legs. There is a real renting crisis in the UK, and rent prices are sky high. Like, they're absolutely astronomical, and this is always in the news.
New figures suggest more than 1/3 of young people are spending much higher proportions of their income on rent. Housing experts say paying landlords more than 1/3 of wages on accommodation is unaffordable.
So that is a cost that you really have to take into consideration. When I went to university, I moved away from my home to study there. I would very heavily consider now studying at a university that's in commuting distance from where I live. It's just going to be way more financially viable for people, but the downside of that is you're going to be limited by where you can actually study. Historically, I think university halls have always been slightly more expensive than renting privately. So in first year, if you can secure halls, you're going to be paying a bit more, but then when you move out into second year and third year and you're sharing with friends, the rent price should come down. However, I'm finding that that's not really the case anymore. I have a series on this same YouTube page where I go to different universities in London and interview students on what it's like and how much it costs to live in London. And the prices that they're giving for their student halls in their campuses and the price that they're giving for renting privately, they're kind of the same now. Obviously, these prices do vary and it depends on where you're going to university, which part of the country you're going to be in. But ultimately, everything's kind of expensive now when it comes to rent. The general living costs are also quite high in the UK. I know I'm really not painting this out to be great to actually study in the UK, but honestly, these are the real issues that people are facing as university students. With the prices of gas and electricity going up, student bills are also quite expensive. The price of food is going up. So eating is expensive. Traveling is also expensive. Yeah, pretty much everything is quite expensive here. When I was at university, I was even driving. I don't even think that'd be a possibility for me right now because car insurance is crazy high and fuel is crazy high. And because of all of these astronomically high prices, most students have to get loans, grants and bursaries just to be able to make ends meet. And even then, the number of students that are going to food banks just to be able to feed themselves is at record levels. So unless your parents just have it like that and they can bless you, or someone's left you some money in a will, you're probably gonna have to get yourself a little job on the side, which is exactly what I did. I used to work at Tesco Express. And honestly, that taught me a lot between time management, learning to budget my money correctly. I just met loads of great people. And also it looked good on my CV that I was able to balance my time and I could show them that, and also gain skills in customer service, etc., etc. Now, while it does sound kind of disastrous when you go through all of the costs, this is the reality. And in a lot of different countries, it's still going to be quite an expensive thing, which is why some people feel like education's gatekept behind a wall of finance that most people can't quite get over. And that's why when getting into the benefits of university, it's very important that we talk about the ROI, your return on investment, i.e. how much going to university could potentially make you. I'm going to be so frank, the long and short of it is the more you study, usually the more you make. And all you have to do is look at the statistics. There is a big gap between those who've never gone to university and those who graduated with a bachelor's degree. And even then, there's actually quite a sizable gap between those who studied at undergraduate level and those who did a postgraduate level. If you look at the graph, those lines have never crossed, which means that the future is very likely to continue the trends of the past. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes there are people that never went to university that earn millions and millions and far out earn those with bachelor's degrees and doctorates. But by and large, that's not the case. After the age of 23, those who've gone to university consistently outperform non-graduates. In fact, accumulatively between year 7 and year 15 from graduation, graduates earn on average £51,958 more than non-graduates, which is a significant amount of money. But the differences don't just lie in the amount that graduates are paid. Graduates are also employed a lot more. From data pulled 15 years after people have finished Key Stage 4, graduates consistently have a higher rate of employment than non-graduates in every area of the UK. They are also consistently less likely to claim out-of-work benefits. And given the economic climate that we're in right now and how difficult it is for some people to find a job, going to university definitely is going to help you, considering we don't know where things are going to go from here. But those with degrees are in a much safer position. In fact, the CEO of Universities UK had this to say: "This new analysis shows choosing a degree really does pay off for most graduates, and that if you learn more, you are likely to earn more throughout your working life, with the potential to significantly increase earnings wherever you live or sector you work in, including the arts and media. This data clearly demonstrates that salary growth for graduates is a marathon, not a sprint." And she's right, that is exactly what the data shows. But I don't think that the benefits of university is just financial at all. University will also teach you independence, budgeting, time management, problem solving, and help you understand who you are as a person, as well as developing you socially. Now, while all of the benefits that we've just talked about are very real, some people don't have all of those experiences and aren't able to reap all of those benefits from their university experiences. And the drawbacks of university also really need to be touched on, because while university is one way, it's not the only way. But having covered some of the benefits of going to university, now we have to really deep dive into some of the drawbacks. And the main one we've already spoken about, which is the cost, but it goes beyond that a little bit. With the university tuition fees being as expensive as they are, especially in the UK at over £9,500 per year, most people, unless your parents have it like that or you just have it like that, are going to have to take out a tuition fees loan. And then to also cover your rent and your living costs, you may also take out a maintenance loan. And it's important to remember in both of these instances that it is exactly that. It is a loan, and loans need to be paid back. And that will usually come in your wages being garnished by a few £100s every single month until it's paid back in full, which for most people never happens. But it wipes by the time that you reach retirement age or just before retirement age. I think it's currently somewhere in your 50s, and you don't just have to pay back the amount that you loan. Naturally, with a loan, you are charged interest, and that interest doesn't start from the point that you end your university experience and graduate, that interest is charged from the first time that you receive money from Student Finance England or whoever you're getting your loan from. I checked my Student Finance England account not too long ago. Bear in mind, I graduated in 2016 and I still owe over £40,000, which, I'm sorry, Student Finance England, I'm never voluntarily giving you more money. And I think that's the stance for most people who went to university after 2012 when they tripled university fees. But for some people, having that student finance loan repayment coming out every month sucks and they don't like it, and for that reason they hate university, and it's a big drawback, and I kind of get where they're coming from. But for me, I think it's just part and parcel of going to university, and usually with the fact that you would typically earn more, or a lot of people do earn more, it doesn't really make much of a difference. But aside from the finances, there are a few other reasons why university may be challenging for some people. For some people, they're just not ready to leave home yet and be immersed into this new environment where they know no one, and it can be very alienating and can be very lonely for some people. I can definitely see that it rips a safety blanket away from some people and they end up being really, really homesick. That being said, there is a tribe for everyone at university, but you need to put yourself out there a little bit. So if you are someone who's a bit of an introvert, you're a bit shy, I suggest you find a society or a club that you are interested in, and I guarantee you will meet like-minded people there. I've also known some people just not to like the university or the place that the university's in, the city or town or wherever, and have then ended up moving to another university, but then that often means that they've got another year of tuition fees to pay in some instances and maintenance loans to pay in some instances. So the amount of loan that they have to take is much greater. However, sometimes they do end up having a better experience somewhere else, which is why it's so important for you to actually go and visit the town, city, university campus before you end up going there, so you know what's in store for you. Also, the subject you choose to study is massively important when it comes to determining whether university is going to be worth it or not for you. A lot of people don't see the financial benefit and return of investment from going to university just purely based on the subject that they've chosen to study. And it's mainly the arts and languages that tend to have the worst earning potentials post-graduation. And on the other side of things, STEM subjects and law tend to do the best by far. While that's what the data dictates, that isn't the case for everyone. I know someone personally who did a degree in arts and they make more money than most people that I know. And I know people that did degrees in science that don't make very much at all. And that's partly because of my next point. You need to pick a subject that you actually want to study and care about. Degrees require a lot of independent study and they require a lot of time and dedication. Therefore, if you don't actually care about what you're studying for and you're not willing to put in the work, then you're not going to get good grades. And if you don't get good grades, then you're just not going to benefit from university in the way that you potentially could. I know that a lot of people are sent to university to study degrees because their parents are pressuring them to study it, even though they want to study something else. In reality, you need to have some very, very difficult conversations with your parents, because what you don't want to happen is go to university, get all of that debt studying a subject that you don't care about, that you've done badly in, and then you don't even get to benefit from doing the course in the first place. Personally, I loved university. It taught me so much, and while I don't use my degrees right now, it's definitely opened up doors for me and helped me earn a lot of money. Not only did it teach me how to learn, but it also taught me how to do research effectively and robustly. And also the data shows that going to university helps you earn more, and the more that you study usually means the more that you earn. But it's the experiences that you have and the people that you meet that I think are the most valuable. Some of my closest friends to this day are people that I met at university. So having gone to university and studied at bachelor's level and postgraduate level and weighing up all of the pros and cons, for me, university is definitely still worth it in 2025. But that's my 2 pence. Maybe you agree with me, maybe you don't, but either way, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments section. If you've enjoyed this video and you've gained some value from it, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe, turn your notifications on, and I will see you guys next time.